Today we are making butter. It is incredibly easy. It is one ingredient, heavy whipping cream, and all you need is a mixer of some format. So for me, I'm going to be using a stand mixer with a whisk attachment. However, you could do this with simply a mason jar and your arm power. I would recommend using a mixer if you have one on hand, and I don't know if it would be worth it to make it a mason jar because it took about 10 whole minutes on the stand mixer to get to the point where it actually separated from butter and buttermilk. Using a mason jar, it might take you forever, but it is possible. So if you are so inclined, go for it. But all you have to do is throw your cold, heavy whipping cream into your stand mixer, let it go. I covered mine with a towel to prevent some splatters, and then you want to keep going. I scraped down the sides to make sure that every part of it got incorporated, but you want to keep going until you see little curds of that really nice yellow fatty butter separating, and then almost a liquid or a watered down milk, and that's going to be your buttermilk. And then you want to just separate those. So here I'm just straining out my butter that I'm going to be forming into my nice butter ball and trying to get as much of that buttermilk kind of squeezed out of the butter as possible. And one thing that you could do here before you squish it all together that I did not do is rinse it out, and that might also help get some of that buttermilk out. But you want to make sure that you do a really good job of clearing as much buttermilk out from the butter as you can, because that's what's going to cause your butter to spoil. I would still recommend only keeping your homemade butter in the fridge and using it within the week. Otherwise, you can freeze it. And so this is a great project if you are wanting to make fresh butter for Thanksgiving. You could make it now and put it in the freezer for later and just have some really wonderful homemade butter. It does taste amazing, so much better than store-bought butter. However, it is not more cost effective to make your own. So definitely keep that in mind. I would not go out and buy heavy whipping cream just for the sake of making butter unless you were wanting to do a special occasion, maybe such as Thanksgiving, and make your own, because it is delicious. But if you have extra heavy whipping cream like I did here from a different recipe, definitely go ahead and make butter if you aren't going to use that heavy whipping cream and you're keeping it from going bad and throwing it out. So it's definitely useful as a way to kind of use up that extra heavy whipping cream. So in order to clean the butter properly and get all of that buttermilk out, you want to put it in a bowl of ice water, and I just threw a few extra ice cubes in my bowl, and you want to keep washing the butter until your water is clear. I would replace the water a few different times, but you really want to just make sure that you are getting as much of that buttermilk out of the butter as possible, because again, that's what's going to cause it to spoil. You can use this buttermilk too. Don't let that go to waste. It's amazing stuff. You can put it in a jar and keep it in the fridge for a week, but ours did not last that long in our house. We made waffles with it the next day, and definitely go ahead and use that too. Now would be a great step once you get all of your butter washed. You can either store it like it is, or you can season it with some salt, which is what we did here. I might have went a little heavy on adding the salt with this batch. It's pretty salty, but it tastes amazing on some bread, so I'm not mad about it. But if I did it again, I'd probably add a little bit less. At this point, you could also get a little bit more fancy and try a few different inclusions and just kind of knead them into the butter as well. So I've seen fresh herb butter where they just take a bunch of different herbs and chop them up, or a roasted garlic butter, or maybe a cinnamon sugar maple syrup type situation. Either would be absolutely amazing, and that would be so much fun to try out. Now for the really fun part, in my opinion. This is a butter press or butter mold, and it is my great grandma's. And my grandma was telling me that she remembers her mom making blocks of butter because she grew up on a dairy farm, and her mom had a bunch of extra cream, obviously. And so she remembers her mom making butter all the time with this butter press. And I was so excited that I got to try my hand at it as well because she did have it still. And of course we had to make some sourdough bread to go with it. I tried to do a spiderweb design here. It did not quite turn out as I was hoping, but it was still fun for Halloween. But I'm so excited to have this block of butter, and I think we're going to try to save it for Thanksgiving and set it out on the table for our buns this year, just as kind of a sweet little memory of my grandma's mom. And I love the little acorn design, and I thought this turned out so sweet. I hope this video showed you just how easy making your own butter can be, and I hope that you guys give it a try. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't.